Hi, this is Katie with Empowering Astrology, and this is Neptune, Illusions and Spirituality, my latest webinar on astrology. Seem to be making my way through all the planets, both the major ones and the minor ones, and Neptune has been a planet that's always intrigued me for reasons I will explain in a moment. Let me just... So today, as I record this, it's November 26, 2019. And again, my name is Katie Sweetman. The umbrella that I've created for my work is something called Empowering Astrology. I've been a consulting astrologer since about 2011, 2012. I did create Empowering Astrology back in 2010 because at the time I felt like there wasn't the type of, let's say, conversation about astrology that I was looking for. Of course, that's changed a lot in the last few years. Astrology seems to be getting more and more popular. I'm here in New York City, in Brooklyn. I'm also a psychic medium. I work with clients, I write, and if you've been a client of mine, then you know exactly the type of work that I do. I try to use astrology as a tool to help you to open up to your best self. So this is the rough agenda for tonight. This is more for those who are just, let's say, watching the replay and want to take a pause and take a look. We will be going through these different sections as we go. So here is the introduction. When I was trying to come up with a name for this webinar, I really had a hard time, which seems kind of fitting for the subject matter, because this idea that Neptune can be a little elusive. I wanted to name it like the Arc of Redemption, but I felt like that was way too heavy and might have given people this idea of that it was religious when it's not. But with Neptune, it does take us through this arc, this kind of story, this cycle of having to go through illusions and then needing to use spirituality to kind of come out of that, let's say that space that we can get into, that negative Neptune that there's a reputation for in astrology. So I named it Illusions and Spirituality. I guess Arc of Redemption would have been like way too heavy. As I was saying a few moments ago before we started the recording, Neptune's been something that is really intrigued me for a long time, because I have Neptune very strong in my chart. In fact, I have Neptune rising. And I think when I started to learn about astrology and I would read about astrology, I wasn't super into what I was reading. I felt like Neptune was being explained in a way that wasn't helpful. In fact, I remember being a teenager, and I would, this is before the internet, and I'd go to the library, I'd check out books. I checked out a book at my high school library, and I have a wide opposition between Neptune and the moon. And the explanation that it gave was, I swear to God, it said that I was gonna, likely be in a mental home. It hasn't happened yet, so never say never, but I think that there's a much more productive way that we can work with Neptune. Sorry for the little ring. It's funny because Neptune does talk in a way about communication, so it's kind of funny. There's like a little bit of a ring. So we can, Neptune runs in the background. It's kind of a planet that doesn't, let's say, it works on a level that's not physical. So Neptune, in a way, it's like the background music. It's easy to not notice Neptune. And if you've gone through what's called a Neptune transit, you know what I mean. It kind of creeps up on you. Suddenly you realize that, wait a second, I don't think I'm quite connected to the ground anymore. It kind of happens gradually. So when we're talking about Neptune tonight, we're talking about a level of reality that's not physical. It's happening kind of behind the scenes. It's subliminal, it's subconscious. So we'll get into that in a few moments. Neptune, and this is the thing, I'll get into this and more into presentation, but Neptune can kind of pull us down and lift us up. There's a sense that we are really kind of coming to the depths of ourselves in order to be able to rise up. Neptune, for good reason, has a reputation for charlatans and saints. This idea that that's sort of like the negative presentation or the negative embodiment of Neptune is somebody that creates illusions, and illusions as a way to seduce or to take power over somebody or to lie and to con, but also the highest form of Neptune, which is the purview of saints. You know, this idea of unconditional love, selflessness. That's this kind of almost Christ-like energy that we can get to with the highest form of Neptune. But in order to get there, we have to go through, let's say, the bottom of Neptune. Neptune takes us out of the physical world, which is it's something that we have to be really aware of. You know, we can't approach Neptune, we can't understand Neptune, whether you are very kind of basic into astrology, or even if you're a student of astrology, or even if you have a heavy Neptune in your chart. You have to understand that you are approaching and understanding Neptune from an almost non-physical world. It's not going to make sense from an analytical way. Neptune is non-analytical, it's non-linear, it's dreams, it's illusions, it's kind of this thing that pulls us in and out of this world. Neptune, importantly, and when we get into what Neptune means in the chart, what Neptune acts as a bridge between this world and the non-physical world. So it's kind of helping us, or not helping us, depending on how we're interacting with Neptune, to kind of go between the physical and the non-physical world. You know, it's my belief, and the way that I approach astrology is that every planet is, you know, you can do it in its lowest form, or you can do it in its highest form. And because we're human beings, because we have free will, we're kind of working to, let's say, bring consciousness, bring awareness to each planet so that we can express it, hopefully, in its highest form over time, but we are growing and evolving through each planet in our chart. And Neptune is no different, but we are doing it in the different way. Another thing I want to kind of say about Neptune is that it opens us up to universality. Universality is this idea that when we start to get outside of this physical world, we are no longer an individual. We are no longer the self or the I. We are the us, we are the we are the collective, we are an atom amongst all the atoms in the universe. And that can either scare the bejesus out of you or be something that's very healing and comforting to know that there's something beyond this world. Another word that I think is a key word for Neptune is this word redemption. And again, that has a little bit of a heavy quality to it. So if you think of redemption and you think of, let's say, religion, just kind of take that to the side. But what is redemption? It's that something, despite everything, can be redeemed, and it can be healed, and it can be put back into light. And it's for that that I think that Neptune talks about spiritual healing.